And boom! Hashtag Vikings at home and the draft preview show is underway, courtesy of Mystic Lake Casino Hotel and one of the best National Football League related opinions in the estimation of the Vikings Entertainment Network. Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, joins us now, also with NBC's Football Night in America. Mike, PFT, your creation from right around 20 years ago, has covering the NFL the way you guys do at that website, has it impacted you in any way as a fan?
Well, I think anytime that something that you enjoy immensely becomes a hobby and then becomes your job, it changes the way that you experience that thing. And yeah, I consume football differently than I used to. I follow all of it now instead of just narrow slivers like I used to. And I don't get as fired up as I maybe once did for a certain team that wears purple uniforms that isn't the Baltimore Ravens, because I have to be neutral and I have to watch all the games. I can't just turn off the TV and go on a media blackout when Gary Anderson misses a 39-yard field goal that could have put a team in the Super Bowl, and then I just pretend the NFL doesn't exist for 48 hours. The world has to continue to go on. And so it makes it a lot easier than it used to years ago to overcome defeat. And there's no time to enjoy victory. You have to keep moving. You have to keep covering the sport. But really, the truth is, like anything else, when something that you love becomes something that you do, you don't love it as much as you used to. But you also don't hate it either, or you wouldn't be doing it in the first place.
I saw Peter King's weekly piece on PFT, and I agree. This is a weird draft. Do you expect the 2021 draft to be wild and crazy? And if so, how may it differ from others?
Well, it's so unpredictable because of the pandemic, because so many guys didn't have a complete set of reliable film from 2020. So many guys opted out. And I believe that for those guys, it was the right decision based upon the information that was available at the time. Maybe in hindsight, some of those guys would say, well, wish I would have played. But at the time, you had to make a good decision. At the time, the NCAA was not involved in providing consistent and uniform standards that would have made it safer than maybe it is when you go team by team, school by school, conference by conference. The problem is you got no film for the guys who opted out. And I know that some teams out there look a little bit differently at the guys who opted out, even though they shouldn't. I think that's what makes it a little bit more unpredictable. And also you take out the scouting combine, you take out the private workouts, you take out the ability that we used to have to track who was visiting whom. Now they can talk to anybody they want to talk to. I think that's part of it too, that makes it harder to get a feel for how the names are going to come off the board.
Michael, three quarterback names we hear a lot associated with round number one: Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. How concerned would you be, given they are all so inexperienced, those three, using a first-round pick on those guys?
This is your opportunity to get somebody that you believe is going to be your quarterback, not for 5 years, not for 10 years. And I think the longevity of Tom Brady and the way that we've seen the quarterbacks perform better right out of the gates, that's what I think is driving teams to roll the dice on the franchise guy. Because if you guessed right, position solved. 10 years, 15 years, maybe longer. You guessed wrong, look at the Jets. You're going to be back in that spot before you know it to do it again. Maybe with a different coach, maybe with a different GM, but the owner is going to be the same. And the owner is the one who profits tremendously from having that franchise quarterback. And don't underestimate the value of that nudge from the owner. One of the privileges of being a billionaire is you never have to give direct orders. You just have to make your preferences known. And if the people around you are smart, they'll listen, they'll do it. And then if it's a quarterback and it works, everything's great for years to come.
Now, Belichick and 15, currently right behind the Minnesota Vikings at 14. And Bill and the team blew minds last year when they took that Lenore Ryan safety with their first pick after trading out of the first round. So after all the money the Patriots have spent in free agency, what are you expecting from the Pats early in the draft?
I know there's some sizzle out there that maybe they'll trade up a few spots or into the bottom of the top 10 to get a quarterback. I think that overlooks how much they really like Cam Newton. I think Newton is their guy. I think Bill Belichick loves him. I've heard he loves him. And the guy has worked hard. The guy does what Belichick wants. I think they want to see how far Newton can take them. And also, they're building a team to win now. So I think whatever they do in this draft is going to be calculated toward guys who can get on the field and help them be better right now. I could see a quarterback mid-rounds, late rounds. They drafted a bunch of quarterbacks when Tom Brady was the starter. This idea, though, of going quarterback with that first-round pick, I don't get it. I don't buy it. I think they're in a prime position to get a great player who slips through the cracks. One of the benefits of having so many quarterbacks go, if you have 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10 and you have 15, it's like having pick number 10 if you're not going to take a quarterback. You get a premier player. And if one of the premier players they like isn't there, then that's when the door opens to maybe trade back some and get more lottery tickets. But I think this idea that Justin Fields, Trey Lance, something like that could be a move that Belichick makes, I just don't buy it. I think they like Cam Newton more than people realize, and they don't need to go reach for a quarterback.
Okay, with your lifetime favorite team, I mean with the Vikings at 14, what can they do there and throughout the draft to become better, not only than last year, but maybe run down Green Bay?
Well, it's not going to be easy to run down Green Bay. Green Bay's been 13-3 consecutive years. They still have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. And, the Vikings have that gaping hole at left tackle. I've seen some chatter that maybe they do a deal to get Orlando Brown, who has made his discontent known in Baltimore and wants to be a left tackle. But you got to come out of the draft with an answer. And I know Ezra Cleveland is the guy who's penciled in to slide over. But if you do that, then you got a hole at left guard. So that offensive line, side to side, all 5 spots, got to be a little bit better. We've talked about this before, Paul, the idea that Kirk Cousins is very good with the play that's called, not very good with the play that you have to come up with on the fly. The more the offense can run the play that's called without the walls collapsing, the better the offense can be. I also think the pass rush needs to be beefed up. They've done a lot on the back end to make it better. Best way to make your back end of your defense better is to improve the front end and give the quarterback no time to. You and I could play corner, left side, right side, if you have a dominant front 4 that is keeping the quarterback from ever letting go of the football, and that's what the Vikings need to get back to. That has been an issue, obviously, last year, and they need to keep it from being an issue this year.
All right, Clint Kubiak is the new offensive coordinator here. Grew up around his dad, winning a bunch of rings. I mean, Clint's very, very smart, but he's new. So what are some keys for the Minnesota Vikings to keep that offense high end?
Well, I think one of the reasons Clint Kubiak got the job is it's going to be the same offense. You don't want to rip up the playbook and introduce yet another personality, yet another attack, yet another mindset when it's a fairly important year for head coach Mike Zimmer and GM Rick Spielman. The Vikings are on this roller coaster, and it's an odd-numbered year, so they should make it to the playoffs. And then the even-numbered year, they don't make it to the playoffs. And if they ever put 2 together in a bad way, that's going to be a bad outcome for Zimmer. And I think he really needs to get to the playoffs this year. And I think that gave Clint Kubiak a leg up in that hunt for a new offensive coordinator, because they're going to have continuity. But look, this is one of the realities. Defensive head coach who essentially hands the keys to the offense to the offensive coordinator, that gives the offensive coordinator a lot of power. From the moment we first heard that Gary Kubiak was contemplating retirement, I felt like it was always going to go this way, because the goal is continuity.
Okay, given Green Bay legitimately is the target at which to shoot in the division for sure, maybe the NFC, we'll see how it plays out. Do you feel in any way this could be Aaron Rodgers' final year with the Packers?
Well, I think it definitely could be, and there's 2 ways to look at it. The team, which wants to keep Aaron Rodgers on a year-to-year basis. I think that's one of the reasons why the Packers didn't exercise their contractual prerogative to restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract. They paid out a $6.8 million roster bonus instead of taking that and a large part of the salary, making it a signing bonus, reducing the cap number this year. You reduce the cap number this year by moving money around. What happens next year? You get a big cap charge if you trade him before June 1. I think they're trying to hold out that possibility, and then let's just see what happens. Mark Murphy, the CEO of the team, I think, has found a way to keep Aaron Rodgers in what I call a sweet spot of being pissed off. Pissed off enough to go out there and achieve at a high level, but not so pissed off that he agitates to get out. The question is, if the Packers want to keep the relationship going after this year and not flip to Jordan Love, does Aaron Rodgers make a play? So there's two sides to this. Do the Packers want to keep him after this year? Does he want to stay? And I think it's pointing toward some sort of a divorce after this season.